Hi and welcome to another episode of Everyday Bonsai. Today I went to one of my favorite nurseries in Auckland, which is Rogers Garden Centre in Mangere. And I was just going to go there to pick up some greens for the garden, so some broccoli, some lettuce, some herbs. And they always have a really fantastic selection of really well-priced trees, so they are quite a bit cheaper than the usual kind of King's Plant Barn, even Bunnings and places like that where you can also buy trees. And I picked up a Kaizuka juniper, and I was just gonna show you how I am training it up. So they had a whole selection there for about $16 each, which is a really good price for this size of juniper it is. And I'm going to walk you through it bit by bit, how I'm training it up to become a bonsai. So let's have a look.
I used to stick around, definitely not for too long. But boy, you got me hooked and made me wanna write this song. Not all guys are the same, apparently I was wrong. Let me take you somewhere where we could be alone. You know how people say, you caught me unexpected. Well, I really wasn't prepared for all this love and affection. Normally I would be scared, but I'm aware that you're special. So let me take us somewhere where we could be alone. When I look at you, I see a pretty picture. You're the sun, I'm the sky, and we're so complete. Let me water you, my flower, I'll teach you how to open up real nice, baby. Why don't we give it a go? Let's dive in a pool of love and sweet. Why don't we give it a go?
So here we are in the workshop. It's turned into a pretty yucky day outside. It's kind of getting towards the end of autumn now here in Auckland, and it's been warm, but it's very rainy outside.
Just to stay in bed with you, cuddle and watch TV. Don't care about anything.
So as you can see here, the trunk really kind of flares out at this stage, and this is the stuff that you want to reveal, because it's a very desirable thing in bonsai. And what you really want to find is the roots. These ones are just some little feeder roots at that stage, and you can just basically snip them off. But the point where you want to get to is where you really have substantial structural roots. So there's some good strong roots here, and they reveal a nice trunk flare. Where branches come out of those, so that's a primary branch, comes out from the trunk, and then there's this kind of growth that is just wedged in between the trunk and the branch. So cut that out carefully. So it's just to kind of clean that up and be able to wire it easier.
Go to work for a week, no, I won't. Just to stay in bed with you, cuddle and watch TV. Don't care about anything, I know you do the same for me. So let's stay here.
And then the next thing is kind of inspect the tree. Have a look where the movement is, where the natural movement is. Have a look at the trunk, which way it bends, and kind of try to find a way to work with it as opposed to against it. So in this case, this tree already has some nice movement from the trunk base into this way, and then it kind of curves back in. and I think that's something that I can nicely incorporate into the design. And then really one of the biggest things for me is always, where do you want the tree to be in a year, in kind of 3 years, in 5 years? Because one of the biggest things is the more, or the earlier you put it into a bonsai dish, into a small little dish, that as soon as you do that, then you really restrict the growth of the tree. So I, for instance, want to develop it bigger, so that's why I leave it in this training pot, and maybe in a year's time I even put it in a bigger pot so that it has more room to grow after the next growing season. Then you really make the tree stronger, you make it grow faster. Leaving more branches on means it's photosynthesizing more. Leaving it in a bigger pot means you can put more nutrients in it, more water. It just helps the tree to grow fast. And now it's about seeing what kind of growth you want it to be for now, and then from there on just cut any excess growth off. So that basically means before you wire it, you do that, so you don't have to wire the whole tree and then later on have to cut the wires off again. So I always go and just go, maybe if this was the length I wanted to be the overall length, then I kind of cut that off here, and that means that I don't have to wire all of this bit and cut it off later again. Next thing is another one of those really important points, which is you try to make the tree have the thickest branches at the bottom of the tree, and then as it goes higher into towards the top of the tree, the branches get thinner. And why I'm saying that's an important thing is because now you can have a look what thickness the branches are. Sometimes a branch like this one is thicker than a branch lower down here. So if you want to keep both of them, what you can then do is cut this one really short, so that means it doesn't grow as fast as another one that you leave longer. So that basically means that a lower one, which is thinner, catches up with the thickness with a higher one up here. So that way you can really balance the growth of the tree and get that right over time. And then find the front. So the front is usually the viewpoint of the tree, so whichever you think is the most appealing part of the tree that you want to display. So it's sometimes it doesn't reveal itself straight away. I probably think this is a really good front. This is just has a beautiful taper. I can kind of bend it from here very easily. It leans back a bit, but I can, because you always want to have the kind of tree leaning towards the front, so the top of the tree should be basically leaning towards the viewer. So that might change over time. So while you're actually wiring it, you might discover that you find another really nice front, but it's good to kind of have it in mind, and I believe this is the nicer front. Yeah, and then wire the tree, but before I'm going to wire it, I'm just going to chop off the excess growth. What I was going to tell you as well, because it's still nice and warm here, you still have these really long shoots growing at the moment, which are actually great for creating cuttings. So junipers take from cuttings really easily, Kaizukas as well as other types of junipers. So I've just assessed that I'm not gonna take the tree higher than this. So I'm gonna cut it off with a knob cutter here. So all of this is coming off, and all of these ones here make fantastic cuttings. So they're good thickness for it. They're probably 2 to 3 millimeters thick at the base, and the ones that you basically tear off here, like that. They are called heel cuttings, and you basically, I basically just cut off the top so it's not as long and doesn't have to support as much green at the beginning, and then you basically just peel off the bottom kind of 3-4 centimeters, and then you add rooting powder to this bit, cut this short a bit, add rooting powder or rooting hormone gel to it and stick it in some soil. I usually just use some box standard potting soil, and within a few weeks or a few months you should have a cutting that's rooted and is ready to become a new plant in the future. Also, any other excess branches, like I definitely don't want this to be as long, so I'm just going to cut that off there. Cut that off there. And there's another one at the back. Cut that off there. And now it's ready to wire. So I have to say I'm actually already quite pleased with how that tree looks. I don't actually want to do too much crazy contorted bending with this tree. I think it looks quite beautiful, and I just want to emphasize the natural bend that it has. So it bends away at the bottom, might give it a slight angle change to the left, and then kind of bring the top, the apex of the tree towards the viewer. So it's quite important at the beginning to find a place to insert the wire, and then insert it probably about, I don't know, 10 centimeters if you can, just so that it's securely anchored in there. That's quite easy here. And then you basically just hold it at the base and just wire it around, really.
Well, I really wasn't prepared for all this love and affection. Normally I would be scared, but I'm aware that you're special. So let me take us somewhere where we could be alone. When I look at you, I see a pretty picture. You're the sun, I'm the sky, and we're so complete. Let me water you, my flower, I'll teach you how to open up.
So there you can see the wire that I've used. As I said, I think it's about 4 mil thick, and try to, as best as I can, to make it kind of 45 degrees all the way up to the tree, and then finish that piece pretty much right where the trunk chop was. So now I can bend the tree, and the wire is strong enough, should be strong enough, to hold it in the position. Junipers in general are quite flexible, so they're not that easy to break, which is good.
When we meet, I feel like I'm on vacation. I think I finally find my best friend. Am I tripping, or is this for real? Yeah. Why don't we give it a go? Yeah. Let's dive in a pool of love and swim. Yeah. Why don't we give it a go? See, there's nothing in the world like you and me.
And I think I'm really happy just with a setup like that. I will not wire any of the branches yet, because they are still very young, very flexible, This is a tree, as I mentioned before. I've got a plan for maybe to develop it over the next kind of 2-3 years at least. So there's no hurry to wire the branches. That's always kind of another exercise. I just wanted to leave it alone. Just in terms of those really long shoots, I'm just gonna trim them off a bit. So what that means is that the growth it'll encourage the tree to send out kind of more shoots, hopefully. Eventually it'll probably be a tree that's kind of the typical kind of dome shape, just like that, longer on this side where it leans to, longer on that side and then up, sharper angle on this side, and then back down that way. So I'm just going to trim those bits off a bit more here, kind of wherever we've got those really long shoots, they can be trimmed off a bit. I will just let it grow, let it recover from the root pruning and from the, I haven't done too much root pruning. I've just basically teased out the roots on top where there's not too much going on anyway. And from the bending, it will have another growing season next year, and probably after the next growing season I will be giving it a detail wire with all the primary branches, which hopefully will then have thickened up quite a lot. And yeah, I'll just put it back in its pot and we'll leave it at that. So if you like the content, please give us a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel if you haven't so. Thank you very much for watching, and I hope to see you in the next video.
So let's stay here all day and hide in the sheets. Baby, we deserve a celebration. When we meet, I feel like I'm on vacation. I think I finally found my best friend. Am I tripping or is this for real?